video from a couple of other innovators and leaders in our industry. And the reason they're going to be here is because they're going to help us understand what's on their minds. And also, what's on the minds of others who are at fast-growing internet companies. And I can tell you very confidently that they're not primarily concerned about the price of a unit of compute. They are worried and dealing with much more complex issues that are hitting them as they're running big clouds in today's multi-tenant cloud environments, big applications. So these folks are thinking about things like retired instances and how they can disappear with fairly short notice. And what does that do to your ability to engineer big apps in the cloud? They're also worried about noisy neighbors. And noisy neighbors is a real problem. It's not just the problem that Seth had when Zack and his bad boy frat brothers moved in next door, right? Although that was a very funny movie. Noisy neighbor problems can impact your disk and your network and other core resources and create unpredictability. So when you think about these problems, here's a quick readout. When you're running small applications in a multi-tenant cloud, the multi-tenant cloud is the perfect tool. It's quick to start, it's nimble, it's relatively inexpensive. But as you get big and you start to hit some of these barriers, you get variability and unpredictability in your behavior, performance, and availability of your core infrastructure resources. And that's a bad thing when you're trying to build and scale and run a business. And this complexity is inherent in the nature of today's multi-tenant clouds. Full transparency, it's inherent in our multi-tenant cloud as well. But these complexities are driving a massive increase in the complexity of computing and building apps. And they're begging to be disrupted and solved. These costs are rising even amid the much heralded price cuts for unit hours of compute happening in our industry, because infrastructure is only one component of the total cost of running applications in the cloud. And as we all know, complexity drives cost. We know that. We learn that in business school, we learn it in life every single day. But there's four big ways that this complexity is hitting people running clouds in the app, or apps in the cloud, pardon me. So first of all, you've got engineering time and talent that is trying to architect for failure. That's a hard job. It makes your algorithms more complex. And then even harder, you're trying to architect for inconsistency and unexpected behaviors. So then you begin to over-provision, because it's one of the only tools you have available to you today to create a buffer around these bad behaviors. And finally, if you're big, or you plan to get big, you need to pay attention to the hypervisor tax, which can cost you somewhere between 5 and 20% of performance on network and disks and other resources. So here's a story that we're hearing a lot more frequently today from people who are running big apps in clouds. They think about the journey from prototyping and starting small all the way up into hypergrowth and optimization. And when they're small, multi-tenant cloud is a fantastic tool. But as they start to hit that hyper-growth curve and traffic really picks up, then they hit these barriers that make life hard for them. And they start to consider whether or not the next right step is co-location. Why? Because colo gives you a simpler model to manage scaling in the cloud. It gives you a simple model because you control the resources, you understand their behaviors, you can add more when you want them. But in colo, you lose the simplicity and the elasticity that a multi-tenant cloud gives you. So now you're in the land of the big trade-off, right? We all love the elastic components of a multi-tenant cloud. But as we've just heard, you run into things that make it hard to scale. In colo, you love the simplicity and control and predictability, but you lose that elastic benefit of multi-tenant cloud, and you pick up the work in managing IT that you got out of in the first place when you went to cloud. So what we all want is very simple. We know this. We want the benefits of both. We want the elasticity of multi-tenancy, but we want the control and predictability and better performance of bare metal servers running in a colo model. Well, today, I'm very proud on behalf of Rackspace to tell you that you no longer have to live in this world of the trade-off. Rackspace is announcing today a new product that we call unveil. Unveil is bare metal servers that can be spun up instantly, just like VMs can, in a matter of minutes. They're also API-driven and accessible, just like VMs are. Unlike VMs in a multi-tenant cloud, though, these servers are highly specialized. I'll talk about what we mean by that in a moment. And there is no sharing of metal in this model. There's no hypervisor to get in the way. Unveil is also completely open source. We think this is big news. You can go check it out. You can see how it's built. You can improve it yourself. It's built on OpenStack software and Open Compute hardware, both open source communities that Rackspace is proud to have helped launch and grow. The API for OnMetal is not a proprietary API. This is an OpenStack Nova API, so you don't have to worry about getting locked in. When we designed OnMetal, we had two principles in mind. In fact, the same principles that leading internet companies use when they scale their core operations. These are simplicity at scale and a high ratio of performance to cost. These leading internet companies do not use off-the-shelf servers, and they don't run VMs and multi-tenancy for their core operations, and neither should you if you're big or if you're planning to get big. So let's talk a little bit about how we've achieved this goal, right? A little bit about the hardware itself. It's all solid state. So these servers have 0 moving parts. As an example, the fans are detached from the chassis and can be serviced without shutting these machines down. So things like this minimize vibration, minimize heat, extend the mean time between failures. All important for getting better performance and lower cost out of your clouds. Sorry? We also think that the network's an important component of predictability and performance. And so we've armed these OnMetal cabinets with 10 gigs to the cabinet and minimal network over provisioning. Importantly also, these are what we call bare metal freaks. These are highly customized boxes for specific jobs that are at the heart of big internet scale applications. So we'll be launching OnMetal with instances that are built for databases, low latency caching, and handling web requests. Specializing these servers helps us keep the cost low as well, because you only put in the box what you need to run that specific job. And so in effect, OnMetal will give you the perfect server for the job you're trying to do, and you don't have to share the metal. So when we say bare metal freaks, what do we mean? So here's some of the sexy specs that are going to be released in our box that is optimized for people running data stores like Mongo and Cassandra and Postgres and MySQL. I/O, as you all know, is at the heart of these databases, and getting great I/O performance is one of the biggest challenges in today's multi-tenant clouds. And so these boxes are designed to absolutely crush I/O and give you amazing performance and value. So what about virtualization? We're launching a single tenant cloud today with bare metal form factor. Where does virtualization come into this conversation? Well, the answer from our perspective is that virtualization is a great tool for certain things, but if you're serious about running big apps in the cloud, we don't think virtualization is the right path forward. We think that bare metal is a great platform to adopt new tools like Docker and CoreOS that give you a better alternative for managing. When you don't have to worry about sharing a host with other users anymore, the need for virtualization as a management tool diminishes, and you have a platform that you can start to use new tools to scale in better ways. So, importantly also though, there's another component to consider aside from technology when you're thinking about scaling. It has to do with what is truly your most precious asset, your most expensive asset, and your most valuable asset, and that's your people. It's your software engineers who are writing your product, shipping product, and making you competitive in your space. We think that as you get big, you need to make intelligent decisions about what jobs and tasks you're going to run in-house and own versus those that you should be buying as a variable service from a trusted partner. And so when we think about this, you can work with a company like Rackspace and leverage our DevOps engineers, our scaling engineers, to not only run OnMetal servers, but to also manage Mongo and Redis and other open source data stores for you and other parts of your stack so that you can get back to doing what makes you competitive in your industry. And for us, we call that staying fast and lean. We think that companies have to make these decisions, and they should only do the things that make them valuable. I can guarantee you today that most of you will never make a nickel out of running cloud operations, unless you happen to be a cloud company. The fast and lean shop in this picture is actually the dev shop at Pantheon. So with that, I'd like to ask Zack Rosen, the CEO of Pantheon, to join me on stage. Hey, Zack. So Zack, what does Pantheon do?
So Pantheon is the professional website platform for Drupal and WordPress. So we make it much easier for designers, developers, marketers to build, launch, and run their websites. So we essentially we replaced the whole website DevOps stack. So servers, system administration, developer tools, deployment, high availability, caching, that whole thing goes poof. We replace it with our platform, and you get to control it with our dashboard. The great thing for marketers is you never have to worry about a traffic spike again, and you can deploy a change or launch your site whenever you want.
So why do you guys use bare metal instead of the traditional VMs and multi-tenant?
So for some context, thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.
We run 0.05% of the web. We're shooting for 30. We have 29.95 to go. So we run 70,000 sites, right? But we give you dev, test, and live environments. So if we actually add up all the environments we run, it's over 250,000 custom PHP runtimes. Each one of them has to be resource and security isolated from one another. So if we were to do this the kind of VM architecture, EC2 style way, that would be 250,000 VMs. Can I afford 250,000 VMs? No. Who here in the room wants to operate 250,000 VMs? Okay, if you do, you're crazy, or your market cap is crazy. We can't do that. So instead, what we built, we just took a different architectural path. We started with bare metal servers, and instead of VMs, virtualization, we used containers. And containers are an order of magnitude more efficient to operate and scale. So we can deploy to 1 container, or 2 containers, or 10 containers. We can do that in seconds. And because of this, we have one giant unified platform that's really efficient for us to operate. So, proof points. We deploy changes across the entire fleet of 250,000 sites on average 6 times a day. We patch Heartbleed in 3.5 hours with 2 engineers. So we're an order of magnitude more efficient than our competitors, which is very important. And we pour all that energy savings back into the product, and that's the core of why developers prefer Pantheon.
Excellent. Thank you for letting us understand that better. So bare metal is a better platform for you to scale your big applications. With your industry pundit hat on, what's going to happen as these bare metal servers are available in a cloud model?
Very good question. So we made a very big bet. It turns out it is and continues to be a bet the company kind of bet on this model, bare metal plus containers. We made it 3.5 years ago. It's paying off. And at this point, we have so much conviction around it, we actually think that the entire industry of compute is going to move to this model. It's just that much more efficient. And to put proof points behind this, we have 13 engineers. We're in a hyper-competitive marketplace. We're up against people with hundreds of engineers, billions of dollars of market cap. This stuff really matters. And the best way we've found to kind of make these decisions, and I would urge you to follow this path. Many people have said, and we believe this, we're in the early days of compute. Just move to the compute in the cloud. That's just a fact. And what you're going to find is technologies you think are sacrosanct now, like virtualization, they're going to fall by the wayside. And the best way I think you can make these kinds of decisions is to get your hands dirty and use them. The good news is containerization, these kind of technologies, for the most part, they're open source. Certainly, you can buy them and try them, pilot them very easily and cheaply, and so I urge you to do that.
All right. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Taylor.
Appreciate the time. All right. Ben Golub from Docker, who you all know, couldn't be with us in person today, but he shot a video for us to share his thoughts and ideas about bare metal plus containers. So let's listen to Ben.
Docker is a platform that makes it possible for you to take any application and build, ship, and run it virtually anywhere. We've been downloaded over 3 million times. We've had over 15,000 Dockerized apps published to our index. I think unveil is a tremendously exciting idea. API-driven bare metal servers represent a really powerful complement to this new style of how you want to build applications. You have a lot of chaos going on, lots of new languages, frameworks, applications, versions of applications, components that need to change and modify and interact with each other in a consistent way. And they also want to interact in a consistent way with the infrastructure. A clean API ensures that that happens regardless of whether you're running on a bare metal server or a VM or some other type of infrastructure. The bare metal piece becomes interesting because with a lot of the new technology that's out there, like Docker, you can get significantly better performance, significantly better economics. So the combination of those two things is very powerful.
All right, thank you, Ben. Alex Polvey is the founder and CEO of CoreOS. Many of you have heard of him. He's another innovator in this industry. He's a software guy, but he's super excited about how bare metal servers provisioned through an API impact scaling. Alex also couldn't join us today, so here's a short video from Alex.
CoreOS is an early stage technology company. we're building a new Linux operating system intended for really big server deployments. Server down here. The model that's being described here has been theorized for a while, and then up there finally, but we haven't seen actual practical implementations of it to date. And these are all your applications that are bundled up, and that's really the whole point of all of this. There's been ways to do this in the past, but as packaged today is really the first, I think, seamless bare metal combined with cloud set of infrastructure that you can go and get off the shelf. So what's exciting about bare metal with an API is that you get all the benefits of cloud infrastructure, so full automation, writing software to manage your servers, but without any of the compromises on performance or reliability. But you still are able to drive it with pure automation and software because it's all API driven. So you really get the best of both worlds.
So as you can see, these industry leaders agree with us that there's both a wrong way and a right way to think about scaling big apps in the cloud, and we're happy that they were able to join us today and share their points of view. But in conclusion, I wanted to confess something to you that you all already know. Rackspace is not a hardware company. We're really not here today to do a hardware commercial. We're a service company at heart. We listen to our customers and we interact with them every single day. And we have a core mission, which is making computing simple and valuable for them. We're proud of unveil because it's a result of not only listening to our customers, but also folks like these industry leaders describing what they love about the multi-tenant cloud, but also describing the challenges they're facing that are driving cost and complexity. So we are very excited about this innovation and where it's going to lead us. But we're also proud of unveil because it's all open source. We have built it to be emulated and improved upon by anybody who wants to do that. And I think that as this technology hits the market, we're going to see it address some of the issues and concerns such as isolation, security, control, compliance, that to date have put a throttle on the adoption of cloud models by companies still running apps in their own data centers or in colo facilities. And so this will be good for fast-growing, innovative companies to grow even faster. And that's good for all of us in different ways. For Rackspace, we will continue to differentiate the way we always have. We target the rest of the cost stack that is driven by people and economies of skill at scale. And what we want to do is provide you valuable services running on top of unveil, where we can run your open source data stores and other parts of your stack, and let you preserve your engineering talent to do what makes you competitive. We want to help you stay fast and lean. That's our primary mission. And speaking of engineering talent, we invite all engineers here today to test drive unveil. Please visit the URL. We've got our folks, Ev and Paul and others who invented unveil here today. We'll be in the Rackspace Lounge after this to answer any questions you may have. When we release this product into general availability in July, we think it's going to give engineers exactly what they've been waiting for, which is elastic computing that they do not have to share with anyone. So thank you for your time today.